Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Road to Punchestown. We are coming to you live from Naas. Ruby Walsh and I are looking forward to going over all 5 days of Punchestown. They're going to be getting on with some flat racing later on, aren't they?
We won't even notice it.
Go on in the background.
No, that'll be grand. This used to be a wonderful national home track that they're turning into a flat track slowly and surely all the time, so they are. But it's that time of year, I guess.
It is, and we have finished over in Britain, only to start again immediately, obviously. That's how we roll. Let's have a look at how the championships ended. They were celebrated at Sandown on Saturday, and of course, Sean Bowen winning it for the second time. He's now got his eyes on A.P. McCoy's record of 289 winners, which he managed in the 2001-2002 season. Tristan Doyle, congratulations to him. He wanted to, at the start of the season, he just wanted to get 20 winners. He did that at Christmas.
He did, and a Coral Gold Cup and a few of the big pots into the mix. So a wonderful season from him. I just actually was doing the maths there. You're talking about Sean Bowen. That's another 58 winners. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of riding.
It is a lot, isn't it? It's an absolute lot. And JP McManus has also become champion owner. I think it was for 20 odd time. But of course, all the plaudits going to Dan Skelton, because not only did he break a record of winning more than 4 million in prize money, he then topped it on the day via a double by breaking the £5 million barrier as well. And he's talking about trying to beat Martin Pipe's win record as well. And after two...
He could, you know.
There was his method. He might well do. He might well do. I mean, he's got the numbers. He's got the method. There's his assistant, of course, to Paul Nicholls, receiving the trophy from him. That would have been really lovely. A great mentor to Dan during the years. Close second to Willie twice, and now has managed to win.
Yeah, and set about it with a plan. Like I'm not going to cry that Willie's
coming.
Probably. He didn't cry about Willie coming here and beating me. He said about how do I win this, or as he put it himself in a brilliant interview after, like, how do I set a target that Willie can't get to? I thought it was a great way of putting it, a great way of looking at it, and fair play to him, he deserves it.
Yeah, I like that attitude too. It worked really well for him. So in Ireland, let's have a look at the championship table. Now it looks unsettled, bar for JP.
Yeah.
Being crowned for the 23rd time there. It was the 10th time in a row, actually, wasn't it, in Britain? And the 23rd time in Ireland. He's unassailable there. Owen Staples is leading Michael Keneally by 3, Jack Kennedy, Darragh O'Keefe by 6. That's pretty much wrapped up, isn't it?
I think both probably are. I mean, it's been an incredible week for Mike and Keneally to ride 3 winners just to get level. He's to ride 4 to get by. It'll be very hard for him. Same for Darragh. I mean, if you told Darragh at the start of the year he'd ride the number of winners he's riding, and by the way, you'll ride 5 at Cheltenham, or 5 at Punchestown. I mean, it's not. I don't think I couldn't see him riding 5, let alone 6. And Gordon and Willie, well, it's a lead for Gordon, but just the volume of Willie's entries and the prize money, the way it's staggered, I think it'll be hard for Gordon to hang on. And to be fair to Gordon, he's been saying that for a long time, and you know, he's, as I said, he's building back up to get to a place where he can challenge Willie, and he's getting closer. But I don't think it'll be this year either. I just think even when you go at it, the second, third and fourths, that volume of money when you get to the last day of Punchestown adds up to a considerable bit. Yes,
so Gordon Elliott going into Punchestown with the lead. It was when I started going through the number of entries, and particularly some of the races where Willie Mullins is quite dominant in terms of numbers and quality.
Yeah, he is. I mean, there's nothing to say that Gordon Skylight Hustle and Niall Kairas couldn't finish first and second in the 2 mile novice hurdle tomorrow, and you know, there's no to say that lead won't get a bit bigger at times, but I think by the time the week gets to the very end, Chupu could well win, Woodoo could well win. Like, Gordon could have a good week, but it's just a number that Willie will have that will get him there.
But he's pushed him more than ever before this time
which is brilliant, which is what's required. But again, a bit like Dan in the UK, how do I get to that level and excel Willie? Gordon's trying to do the same thing. He's not saying like, oh, can someone please stop him? They're not. They're both going about getting better than the person that's setting the standard. And you have to like that.
And presumably Willie isn't just satisfied with setting the standard. I think we know that about him.
No, he's not. And you can be full sure he'll be loading the guns for next year. But no, it is, and I think it makes for great sport.
OK, so now we're going to have a look ahead to the 5 days at Punchestown. But first of all, we need to get some things established. Ground, What are you expecting it to be?
They're giving it officially yielding good to yielding in places on the hurdle track. I'd say that's the quickest it'll be. It'll definitely be yielding, maybe even ride a fraction slower. They've done a terrific job in Punchestown. I've been over there several times in the last 10 days, and they've been watering since they could get on the track. And they've kept it on the slow side, and that's the way they'll keep it. I mean, I know they are April into May, but it is a national hunt festival, and they want that ground for it.
And weather-wise, the weather's been getting, the focus has been getting better. I think,
It has, yeah.
The
sun is shining. I think the only one who are not happy with the sun shining are Brendan Sheridan and Richie Galway, but I think Conor O'Neill and everybody else in Punchestown is delighted that the sun is shining. But no, and in fairness to Sean on the track as well, they'll keep pumping the water on. I wouldn't be expecting dry ground.
No,
You won't get dry ground.
And a reminder in terms of the layout of the track, the hurdles track, increasingly speed favouring from Thursday onwards.
Yeah, it will be. It gets in closer. But like when you say speed favouring, by the time they get to the last day in Punchestown, they'll still only jump the last hurdle once in a 2 mile race.
Yeah.
It's still 1 mile and 7 round, and they have fresh ground on the inside of the chase track as well, and they will move the fences in when the ground gets chopped up as well.
Speed favouring in relative terms.
Big time.
Okay, so we're
I
going to...
always laugh at that, and we talk about it too. The inside track that they use in January in Punchestown, in January, is still 1.25 miles round.
Which is a massive piece of land.
The tightest track in Punchestown is still bigger than most summer tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
And they say, it was a tight track in Punchestown. Yeah, right.
If you've never been to Punchestown, it knocked my eyes out the first time I went there. It's huge.
It is huge.
It's absolutely huge. Right, okay, so we're going to proceed during the course of the show chronologically, and so when you join us in a few moments' time, we'll be talking about tomorrow's card. And that means we start with the William Hill Champion Chase. Let's take a look at the betting. We've got declarations, of course, for the first 2 days, so we're going to linger a little bit longer on the races that we know more about. This is the feature of tomorrow's card with Il Était Temps, who came roaring back to win the Champion Chase, the favourite. Marine Nationale, who sadly missed the Champion Chase at Cheltenham due to probably being cast in his box and getting a sore neck. Mashborough, who disappointed there, is 5-2. And Grand Old Energumen, who won this twice in 2022 and 2023, he's 16-1. Blood Destiny, 25-1. Let's talk about the Queen Mother Champion Chase. It all went wrong for Mashborough, probably at the start.
I thought so at the start on the day anyway. Look, he was slowly out the gate, ended up behind the Il Était Temps going to the first, and then he just runs away as I show my absolute professionalism and didn't turn my phone off.
101.
101 is right. But he just tore off with Mark Walsh, chased Calixios in front, and by the time he gets to the fourth fence, he's a good bit in front of Il Était Temps, and he gets further in front of him when they face down the back. You can see the stretch, and then when he made that mistake at the ditch, he goes to the next fence and just launches out of Mark Walsh's hands. Barely gets there, and you could tell watching this race, you're kind of thinking that fuel tank is starting to run empty. Got under the fourth last. Look how far back the Tom still is, and he wasn't good at that ditch either. But he's never been good at those ditches in Cheltenham. Third last, Mashborough trotted out through it, and your eye was always drawn to Paul. Then he let the Tom pings the second last, gave Paul a little heart attack here at the back of the last fence when he nods. Just for a second, you're thinking, is he going to crumple over? But he didn't. Irish Panther, who runs in the novice chase this time, made a mistake at the last there. But it was a good performance from Il Était Temps. Mashborough blew his chance, and Marine Nationale wasn't at the party, so it'll be interesting. I mean, I guess if that Il Était Temps, when you go back through Il Était Temps, he is consistent.
Yes, he is.
And he turns up pretty much all of the time. I can see why he's favourite.
I think he should be favourite, absolutely, yeah. He's consistently high level. I think his form is consistently better of Marine Nationale, sorry, Barry. And I think Mashborough's peak only has one peak that goes past him, so absolutely. And remember, he was downwinded on the ground in the Clarence House, 2 out when we last saw it, bounced back to that, hood off. Where to treat.
His last 8 starts, he's after winning 7 times. The only negative is that Clarence House run, and God, everyone's entitled to one off day. And then, of course, you have to look at Mashborough too. We saw him in the hilly way going right-handed. Right-handed for Mashborough can be a bit of an issue.
Now, he won, of course, as a novice here last year at Punchestown, but it was largely a lesser field. Only by night, of course, did finish in front of him in the Arkle, but Mashborough needs to walk through several fences in order to achieve that. And last year at Punchestown, he also went out to his left. That's what he does.
He does, and he keeps going across the track, but you kind of look at this race and you think, well, what's the shape of the race going to be? Like, Mashborough's going to be in front, and horses can be a little bit like sheep, and if one starts heading off left in front all the way, the others can start to follow. So it'll be interesting as he drag the field with him, but he will go left. Looking at it on paper, he looks the obvious front runner. You'd be surprised if a Marine National, even with the cheap pieces, took him on. Tomp will probably sit in a little bit without sitting off him. Energramine and Blood Destiny. Energramine got a lead the last day. If Blood Destiny jumps out to go, you can't really see him nicking any prize money doing that.
I mean, Mashborough, I think, will make himself vulnerable by doing that kind of thing again. But is it more difficult in a smaller field to... I mean, he really set an aggressive pace at Cheltenham. Iletitom sat back off it. I think Iletitom is a staying 2-miler. I've come to think that Marine National might be as well.
Yeah, well, look, Iletitom went to entry and ran the 2.5-mile novice chase after running in the Arkle and has won a Clonmel Oil. Now, I know he could come back down to 2 miles, but there was a train of thought in Close Sutton that maybe he was a King George horse at one point. So he is a staying 2-miler. Mashborough won't have anything to chase. Like, even if he's slowly out of the gate, which is unlike him, but he was slowly out of the gate at Cheltenham, and then he chased Calixias. I don't think he'll have anything to chase here.
Is it possible he gets away, is what I'm asking?
When they get away, he'll get to be able to at least relax and get a breather the odd time. And if he flies up out of the start, you run quite downhill and then up to the first fence. And if he jumps the first, he'll be able to sit onto the top of the hill, and then he could get away.
Yes.
And he freewheels down to the ditch.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a possibility he could.
Yeah, I'm not envisaging the kind of, aggressive eyeballs out, but no. I am wondering whether he just gets to a position whereby it's actually a big effort to try it, as long as he doesn't flip his lines.
No, exactly, but if he rolls down and then starts attacking, I mean, if we get the Mashborough we got at the DRF, he's going to take some following whatever's in the race. But now, do we get that Mashborough or not? It's a different story.
Now, Marine National struggled to go that pace against Mashborough in the Dublin Chase. Let's take a look at him winning at Punchestown last year. He did well to get back into the race.
He did, and that's fact to file beside him. He never looked convinced watching him in this race last year. Look, El Fabiolo ranges up on his outside here at the third last fence. You're thinking, wow, Paul is the one you want to be on. His body language versus Sean Flanagan's. El Fabiolo was galloping all over him. But just as they got down to the second last, to be fair to Marine National, it looked like he'd come back on the bridle. El Fabiolo fell, he gets to Captain Guinness and Solace. Factifile hadn't risen to gallop, and he eventually wins the race quite impressively. Yeah. But there were times in the race you were thinking, no.
Which is why I think the cheap pieces are really going to help. I went back and had a look at the Dublin Chase. He is sluggish. He's sluggish at the start. He's sluggish after the first. He's sluggish after the second. I think they're really actually going to help him.
I mean, they definitely could help him. I mean, we saw that with other horses throughout this season, that cheap pieces can't help. I think also at the first in the Dublin Chase, Solness shimmied to his right, and Marine National got very tight to the outside wing, and that put him on the back foot straight away. But they could help him. They could sharpen him up, or else they could make him do too much early. There's a fine line there too.
I suppose he's got quite a jaunty head carriage, hasn't he?
Yeah, but if he likes to warm into it, he's running home. Whereas if you then go and force him to go, he mightn't come home.
I don't want to be sucked down the Mashborough route again, but I do just wonder whether there is a scenario if he gets to a certain price, the race could work out that way. Maybe he's an in-running type thing. See whether he's ploughed through any and then take a view.
See how left he's going.
Yeah, exactly. Right, OK, let's have a look at...
Having said that, when we watched him at the DRF, he went right.
He is a perverse horse, I think we know that.
Yeah, explain that one, Mashborough, please.
Let's move on to the Dooley Insurance Group Champion Novice Chase, shall we? And have a look at the betting there. Now, Kitzbühel, who was excellent in the brand advisory, is the 5-4 favourite. Prentice Gold, 11-2, Capagee Pike, and several others at 8-1. This is an interesting race. You often get an odd result here. Let's start with the brand advisory in Kitzbühel.
Yeah, and he was very good on the day. Harry Cobden rode him, obviously Paul rode. Final demand, booked out prominently. Western Fall was over on the far side, Oscar's brother in the middle, who jumped a bit high, and that ultimately put him too far back. But what Kitzbühel did was go right all the way, which you saw him do at Kempton, which he did do at Sandown, and Harry Cobden was giving him plenty of room to do that. So you would imagine back at Punchestown he's going to be jumping in. It'll be a help rather than a hindrance. But I thought it was a really good performance. I thought Final Demand was coming to beat him at the second last, got through and he's inside at the last, but to be fair to Kitzbühel, he dug in and he got all the way to the line. Now Oscar's brother on the left of your shot in the second JP McManus colours, the green cap and the white star, he did run on really well, but I still think Punchestown's a faster track than the old course of Cheltenham.
Yeah, I mean, and this was a ruthlessly run race. I mean, it really did reward stamina. Salva, Oscar's brother, now is the hour, running on into third, fourth and fifth. I don't think Western Fold got home. I mean, it was hugely tough from Kitzbühel.
Yeah, and it was a really good race, and that's the question mark. That was a hard race. And then you chuck into the mix that he's been to Kempton at Christmas. He was at Sandown for the City Isles. He was at Cheltenham as well for the Brown Advisory. he's done his fair share of travelling this season.
I'm just thinking, Champ Kylie won this at 22-1 last year. Only 3 favourites have won in the last 10 years. It's the kind of race where you might get a result, I reckon.
There's a fair chance they got beaten up plenty of those.
The Willow Gold Cup is where we're going to go next, and this couldn't be more contrasting to the Brand Advisory. This was a steadily run turning into a sprint.
It was, and they were building it up from the front, from the fourth last across. Now, Pure Steel, we lost eventually to third last. Capage Pike and Predator's Gold reopposed from this. Western Folds at the back. Fleur in the Park is dead last in the black cap. He got a lovely ride, and he went down the inside. Keane Crook and gets a great run here. Now, Pure Steel tipped up a 3 out. Keane Crook is over on the inside, still looking for a bit of luck. White cap Predator's Gold goes to the second last, and Queen Kirk brings down Western Fold. And then Keane Kirk even gets out between Jimmy Desoy and Jacob's Ladder and gets to the last and wins impressively. But he was ridden, he was 20-1, and he was ridden almost like a 20-1 shot, ridden to come home, take all the chances, and he got the jackpot. I don't know, I think the better horse in that race ended up on the floor, and I think Predator's Gold is probably a bigger danger than anything to finish that contest.
I can see that, because Predator's Gold, I think, has improved with each start, and I suspect he might like the step up and trip. I'm not sure Fleur in the Park is going to like it.
No, he won't, but having said that, they rolled the dice in a Grade 1 this latter reason. They got
it's great.
a few brilliant on the day. Capage Pike has never struck me as a 3-miler, and yeah, I think Predator's Gold, he may well have bounced at Punchestown in January. He'd been off the track for a while, won at Navan, second run was disappointing, but he's doing a lot of things right at home.
I wonder if we can just have another look at that graphic, if we wouldn't mind, just to have a look at the betting for this race, because I think there could be some others to think about. The likes of Lovely Hurling, perhaps, who is improving all the time.
He is improving. Lots of solid seconds throughout his career, but he's still a maiden over fences. I know he will still be a novice in the UK next season, but as of next Sunday, he wouldn't be a novice here. I actually thought the one that could be really interesting was July Flower.
I'm glad you said that. She's got
her
her best.
Really, slightly interesting.
Her best form ever hurdles over in France is over 3 mile, 1.5 furlong a toy.
It is behind Lessange Blue, and Hewick was second, but Mahler Mission was just behind her in fourth. I think that run proves she stays, but she needs to be a little bit better than that, than just beating how far she beat Mahler Mission. But at 33-1, I did think she was a little bit of value.
I think she's the wrong price at 33-1, clearly. If you look at all of those horses, that some of them which are shorter than her around her, you'd think actually I'd rather go for that.
I agreed with you. So Capage Pike, I don't think will stay. Lovely Hurdle, I'm not so sure. Oscar's brother got as far as the chair, but you know, who knows. Fleur in the Park, Stamina, what do you think has to improve? Western Fold seems to be regressing. The Spanish Harlem got to the fourth last. They got Nash when he pulled up. I think when you look at everything else that could be third, she's too big a price.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Thought I was being clever. Clearly not. We're all going to be back in July Flower. Let's move on to the PRL Champion Novice Hurdle. It's over the extended 2 miles, and here's the betting. Al Kairos, who was 5th in the Supreme, is the favourite at 2-1. Le Labo is 5-1, along with Skylight Hustle and Sober 8-1 bar. Just to be perverse, we're going to start with the Turners Novices Hurdle form.
Yeah, and look, Skylight Hustle comes in here. He ended up making the running in the Turners after a while, but he was just far too free and sober. You can see Patrick Mullins already pushing him at the back of the second hurdle. He didn't overly enjoy himself at Cheltenham, and Skylight Hustle just pulled himself into the ground. Now, I don't know, I think both of these have to leave it behind. I'm not so sure. Sober was good in the Moscow Flyer. I could see the hood working on Skylight Hustle, and he was good at Leopardstown at Christmas, so I can see why both are in here, but Sober for a horse that was really well fancied. He's fallen out the back of the shot there. Now, I know Skylight Hustle is pulled up at this stage, but he was just too free. Sober never rose a gallop. I'm just not sure about him, or convinced by him even.
Yeah, he kind of put the brakes on, which he did do in the Moscow Flyer as one of the early hurdles, to put him on the back foot, and he was never going to like that. No. But so cheek pieces back on might help. Wore them in France.
Definitely wouldn't be a hindrance to him anyway. But you look, and the ability's there. You know, you saw that in the flat at Royal Ascot. He just has to develop a taste for jumping.
Might be a bit late in the day, I think. Scarlett Hessel, I'm not sure. He always shaped to me like a staying 2-miler. And now suddenly he was too free in the Turners. Now he's got the hood on. I don't know. I'm just not liking the vibe.
Possibly. But often you think, he stayed so well at 2, we'll go up and trip. Sometimes it can just be best off like go flat out at 2.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe that'll work. Right, let's take a look at the Supreme, which was over 2, and it was dominated unusually by the Brits. 1, 2, 3, 4. We couldn't even get in the first 3 for the previous 3 years, and, and then we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4. But the Turners is working out better. Al Kairos did best of the Irish.
Did, and didn't really have any excuse. Now each to our own down the inside under Sean Flanagan and Barry Connells was way too keen, too bossy for us. Ran okay, but has pulled up at Ferryhouse since, so he's possibly hard to fancy. But look, when you look here where Al Kairos is compared to My Daddy Paddy and the Feely Colours Noir that runs on
Baron Noir.
Baron Noir. Like when you see where he finishes in the race, like you're kind of thinking, well, why doesn't Al Kairos finish
Quite.
closer? Like he's behind him there, Baron Noir. My Daddy Paddy was just in front of him. Like you would have hoped he would have got by him. I know they were disappointed, but I hope they have an excuse because I can't see an obvious one on form.
No. I totally agree. For exactly the same reasons. The one that I thought might improve out of that was Each to Their Own.
Yeah, he over-raced. He was just too keen.
Yeah.
And didn't give himself a chance. He was impressive in a handicap at Thurles, but off a mark of 124, I think most of this lineup would be, you'd expect him to win off that mark. But he's a fairish horse, yeah.
Yeah. But I think he was being seen in this grade.
Yeah.
And then
got beaten and got a nice mark. And took advantage of it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. Just a handicapper.
The hood should help him. Right. How about Le Labo?
I think he's the one horse that's possibly unexposed and hasn't disappointed. He didn't get very far in his first run over hurdles. Fell at the last going to beat Kazansky, which isn't good enough at Cork, but he was going to bolt in. And then I thought he was good at Naas and he beat Blake. And Blake is a good yardstick. Blake has been banging heads with Cocktail Brute all season. And yeah, I think the Labo's definitely got a chance. He dropped in at the back and Ace was slowly run the King's Furs, turned into a bit of a dash, and I thought he did really well. It was his first completed start over hurdles. He was getting a pound off Blake, but a pound doesn't really make that much difference, I wouldn't have thought. And I thought he showed good gears to go and win. I think he's the one horse open to more improvement in the lineup. The rest of them seem to have a question mark to answer maybe, whereas this fella seems to be going in the right direction.
I tend to agree with that. Again, I think I mentioned I do think Each to Their Own might run really well, but I agree with this horse. I think it's only his 5th start overall and his 3rd start over hurdles. First completed start, battled to beat Blake. But Blake was probably being held by Cocktail Brute, wouldn't you think, at Fairy House?
Oh, he was, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was.
Just hanging in behind.
A little bit, and that goes back to the Royal Bond form early in the season as well, the two of those. Not much between them, and Cocktail Brute, to be fair to him, other than the disappointment at Cheltenham, has been pretty consistent too. So, I just thought Le Labo was interesting.
Okay. Right, those are our thoughts on the grade ones on day 1. Next we move on to day 2. Right, and this should be an absolute corker, you would think. There's a clash between Gaelic Warrior and Factor File. Let's take a look at the betting, shall we, for this? And it should be, I mean, this is where they started their season, wasn't it? In the John Durkin. Now they're meeting in the Ladbrokes Punchestown Gold Cup. 5-4, each of 2. I know the way you're thinking. The former Gold Cup winner, 3rd in the race this year, 8-1. Grace O West, who wouldn't have a bar of the Grand National, is 14-1, and Champ Kylie 33-1. Right, let's start by looking back at the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup.
It is, but it's still hard to believe this is the 4th time they're going to meet this season and it's still 5-4 each of 2.
Well,
that one hasn't dominated the other. Now, this is the Gold Cup. Obviously, Factifile didn't turn up in it. Gaelic Warrior Paul surprised me when he bounced him out so handy, but he did get him tucked in when Grey Dawning went by him, and then was always in a really good position from there on. And it was a brilliant performance. But I know the way you're thinking. I couldn't believe it that he got as close as he did. After home tournament, he appeared in the shot. I had written him off so early in the Gold Cup, yet he just seemed to plug on and get going and warm up, and eventually ran the best race of the season. But the winner was spectacular. Django Boy has gone to Aintree since, and I don't know Frank the form, but definitely backed it up. So too was Grey Dawning, so you can't say it's poor form. It's as good as the form as there is around, and it was a brilliant Gold Cup performance. But that was in March. It's what's going to happen Wednesday. It's interesting.
Yeah, he's utterly dominant. I know the way he seems to have had some sort of issue, whether it's his back, the way he's been jumping. And I agree with you, he did tremendously well to get in 3rd. He's always being held by Django Bay for 2nd. I feel like that brings everybody down, apart from Gaelic Warrior. The fact that you can jump that badly and still get into 3rd. It's a stamina laden thing. But you're right. I mean, you're right to point out they've locked horns repeatedly, Gaelic Warrior and Factor File. The track Punchestown is a positive for Gaelic Warrior.
Yeah, he won a beginners there, and he obviously won a John Durkin.
He was beaten by Letty Tong, outspeeded.
At 2 miles. But I don't see it as a negative for Factifile.
No.
He's won a John Durkin, second in a John Durkin, ran poorly over 2 miles there last year, but he's 2 from 3 off the top of my head. Maybe he's been there a fourth time, but no, and I do think it's interesting. I mean, like when you looked at the John Durkin and everyone's reaction after, did they all have too hard a race? One won the Irish Gold Cup in Leopardstown, the other won the Gold Cup at Cheltenham. I don't know, I thought that John Durkin was a spectacular race.
It's fantastic.
And I think it's amazing that the two of them are going to end up at Punchestown at the end of the year and still no one knows which one.
Is it relevant that Factor File will be the fresher of the two, though, having missed Cheltenham?
It can't be a disadvantage anyway. So it can't. In fact, our Gaelic Warrior did have to go and run 3.25 miles. So look, there has to be a small advantage there for Factor File. But as you rightly pointed out when we were doing the homework for this race, on ground better than soft. What's Factor File's record? OK,
well, let's see the good and the bad from Factor File. This is the very, very good indeed. This is him beating Gaelic Warrior in the Irish Gold Cup en route to, well, one of them went to Cheltenham, one of them went.
They both went, only one of them ran. They were both there. Gaelic Warrior was obviously a bit keen in the Irish Gold Cup, going left-handed, got caught on the outside. Factor File was ridden closer to the pace than he had been over 3 miles in the past. Or not so much closer to the pace, but he got involved in the race earlier than he had done in the past. Got up sides of the fourth last, and even going to the third last. Mark has gone through on the inside of Gallop in the Champ. Monty's pass in the middle, and a couple of lengths in front of Gaelic Warrior, who's kind of caught for speed across to the second last. But like, this was a brilliant performance from Factor File. There was no doubting about it, and I think Patrick thought himself going to the last at 3 miles he might well catch Factor File, but he didn't. And Factor File galloped every step of the way to the line. Gallop in the Champ back there with Firefox, Monty Star. That looks like the Grand National winner, I Am Maximus, back there as well. So look, it is rock solid form, and that was Factor File getting revenge on Gaelic Warrior for the John Durkin.
At a track that Gaelic Warrior doesn't run so well at, Leopardstown, I think it would be fair to say. And also I felt like he had...
You know, the more you say that, the more William Mullins is going to run him now.
I hope so. I hope he always runs in the Grade 1 races that are open to Gaelic Warrior. But he also had many different positions in the race. I don't think the shape of the race really worked out for Gaelic Warrior. What I'm saying is that that was Factor File at his best. I don't think he was beating Gaelic Warrior at his best.
Possibly not. But it's about the day, isn't it? And then who's going to be the best on Wednesday, or who's going to be in the best form on Wednesday? As you said, though, Factor File is probably the fresher horse, but he's 2 runs on anything quicker than soft.
Let's look at those. So this is him dropped to 2 miles last season behind Marine Nationale.
Yeah, and never really got going. Rubbed the first, which is a little bit unlike him, but when he got down into the back straight, he was the first one that was struggling. Now, maybe some people will think, he was dropping back the trip, but he had utterly dominated the Ryanair, so it was surprising to see him in so much trouble so early, and he fell out the back. And early in the King George, Django Boy got him in a pocket. King George in a pocket behind Banbridge at the first bend, and he never rose a gallop after that.
He didn't. But you've been making the argument at the top of the show that it won't be that quick.
No, it won't be. But when you look, still, when you said it yesterday, I look back through his form, soft to heavy. It's going to be yielding on the slow side of yielding, but it's not going to be soft ground. It's still at the end of April.
Come on, the Warrior. And you?
I don't know. I just think I'd love both of them to turn up. I think the same in the champion chase. You'd love the 3 of them to turn up on Tuesday. You want them to give you a race and not think when you're coming off the stand, Asher, he didn't turn up. I still don't know if we know which one of them is the best on Wednesday afternoon, but I hope they turn up and entertain the crowd.
Yeah, I think it can be an end of term, can't it? So you can get some end of term races.
I do think where it could get a little tricky, though, is how will it be run?
Go on.
I know the way you're thinking is definitely not going to make the run. There's a small field. I don't see a front runner. Does Gaelic Warrior jump and go? If he does it turn into a John Durkin where he just runs away? Will Factor File make the running? Probably not. I think it could be quite a tactical affair.
Yeah, possibly. I think I'd probably, of the options you've just given me, I'd be inclined to go on with Gaelic Warrior, banking on him being a less fresh horse than he would have been on seasonal debut and being more tractable therefore.
Yeah, I know, but the couple of times he's gone on, like Factor File pushed him at Leopardstown and had him beaten after 7 fences.
Yes.
He ran away in a beginner's chase. He ran away in a John Durkin. I don't know, he's going on just as easy as you think on that Gaelic Warrior.
Certainly, I don't think any of that looks very easy. No, I'm airily saying that, but that's what I do.
I'm not sure. Like, definitely something in front of Gaelic Warrior
would help.
Seems to suit him,
Yeah, okay. Right, so another one to watch in running, perhaps. Let's move on to the Channel Real Estate Group Novice Hurdle. We can have a look at the betting, and this features a load of horses that ran against each other in the Albert Bartlett, which we'll see shortly. Dr. Steinberg was pulled up in it, if I can speak. He's 7-2 joint favourite, along with the third, the Passing Wife at 7-2. Frida Mare, don't know why, is 4-1, bigger price than the horse that he beat. And Zanush, who's on an absolute roll, a highly progressive mare, but seems perhaps to need softer ground. She's 5-1. Let's focus on the Albert Bartlett. I don't know. Last orders at the bar, do you think that is?
This is Ireland, Lydia.
Right, OK. Right.
Maybe in 12 hours' time.
I was worried about that. Let's have a look at the Albert Bartlett, shall we? There's a large number of horses taking each other on again.
They are, and Dr. Steinberg was obviously way too keen. The Passing Wives looked to have a good position there in mid-division early doors. Fruit de Mer was behind her. Espresso Milan in the black and orange. Hip Hop de Loire got out the wrong side of the bed and never rose a gallop. But Dr. Steinberg, he just pulled so hard. He was always going to be hard to win an Albert Bartlett that way. I'd imagine they'd have to change tactics a little bit with him. If you buck out and something takes him on, he's going to run too freely again. And maybe they won't. Maybe they'll do the same thing again, but I would be surprised. But I did think Fruit de Mer ran a blinder, so too did the Passing Wife. Winner came from way off the pace. I thought Spinning Yarn ran well as well in the Robco colours.
I didn't think
black
he stayed.
with the pink star. Maybe not.
I didn't think he stayed.
I wasn't so sure. I thought he'd use a bit to get into his position. And Espresso Milan faded here after over. Got a little bit close across in front, but I don't know. Fruit de Mer here was the one you wanted to be on until Gavin Sheehan gets through on the grey. But I did think Fruit de Mer was going to win there for a long way, and ultimately didn't. And maybe he's the one to be with. But I don't know. Can often find the Albert Bartlett a confusing race to work out, and trying to make the form exact is difficult as well.
Certainly, Johnny's Jury did well. I mean, he got shuffled out right at the start, and Gavin Sheehan had to take his medicine and just accept where he was, and then he came through with this strong display of stamina to beat horses that had been more involved in the race.
Yeah, exactly, but it's maybe that tell you they were all too close. Maybe you needed to be back where Gavin Sheehan was the way I'd look at it.
I suppose Frida Bear and the Passing Wife were in the rear half of the field as well. How about Zanush? What do you think about
I think she's very good.
How about my contention about the ground?
Possibly be a first encounter, but I think the trip will really help her. I thought she was very good at Fairyhouse when she won. She was good in Limerick before that, and she's just been so progressive. Who knows where the top is for her? Who knows where the limit of her ability is? I mean, it's easy to say Fruit de Mer could possibly improve again. The Passing Wife was well fancied at Cheltenham, but seemed to run his race with no excuse. Fruit de Mer was little less exposed.
Hood for Dr. Steinberg, will that be enough to pacify him?
Definitely be a help anyway, won't be a hindrance. That Love Me Tender ran okay at Fairyhouse at a big price. He could maybe have a squeak. Kazansky seems to have trained off a little bit.
How about Frankie John, who was fourth in the Sefton, coming back from a break, seemed to enjoy the step back up to 3 miles?
I would have thought he'd loved the distance, and he had won a decent maiden hurdle at Leopardstown at Christmas. A bit in and out after that. But look, there's going to be big price winners this week if you can find them. And horses like Frankie John maybe, or even Love Me Tender, they're worth chancing.
Right. OK, that is day 2 done. Let's move on to Thursday.
Great result. Thanks, Peter. Coming up, we have league action live on Friday night, followed by 3 more games live on Saturday, then 2 more massive games live on Sunday. And don't forget, league action live on Monday night. Then it's over to Europe for the big one, live on Tuesday. Then the even bigger one, live on Wednesday. Then it's the other Europe.
Sometimes a break isn't a bad idea. So, if ever you want to take time out from betting, use Paddy Power's Take a Break tool to pause your account. Paddy Power.
Staying hurdlers are the focus on the Thursday. We can have a look at the Ladbrokes champion staying hurdle betting. The stayer isn't here, the stayer of the season, home by the Lee, 11 years young.
Incredible, isn't it? Gives hope for everyone, home by the leaders. But Chupu heads the market from Bob Ollinger. I was disappointed with Chupu at Cheltenham. Maybe it was Gordon's horses at the time or whatever, but I just thought he looked beaten so early in the race. Bob Ollinger ran a cracker. Honesty Policy was too keen.
Should we look at that?
Yeah.
Should we look at that?
We'll have a look at it.
The Stayers Hurdle.
Yeah, look, Hewick made it. It wasn't a mad gallop or anything. He went a nice gallop in front. Home by Lee was sat second. Doddy the Great there is Honesty Policy. Bob Bollinger to the back. Chupu was in a really good position, but Chupu was one of the first ones to start to struggle. And look, I know Home by the Lee is in the form of his life, but if you start to struggle in a race before he is, you're really not going well. And I just... Yeah, he did at times. I actually thought at points in this race he was going to be out with the washing, and then I thought for a moment when he got running off the bend here, if he actually gets a run, he was starting to plug on, but he didn't. Carbal de Matan arrived up and just didn't stay. Hewick is hanging in there. Honesty Policy didn't find maybe as much as I thought he was. Bob Bollinger came through with his run, but here, from looking like he'd no chance off the bend, I thought Chuper was coming again. Himself and Ballyburn both had stopped, but I think in a race that's somewhat confusing, I think Chuper will ultimately be the safest.
Yeah, I don't know is my honest answer to this. I mean, it was a steadily run race, but Home by the Lee pressed on going down towards the 2 out. I think the race didn't kind of pan out conventionally, and I don't know. I suppose I'd expected Bob Bollinger to do better than he did. I know he wasn't able to move into the race as smoothly as he was last time. There was a bit of sort of traffic issues. Yeah. I agree with you. Chupu was flat. Oh yeah, it's a confusing race that.
It's been a confusing division.
Well,
every road is on top. I think it has as well. And look, the entry race again. Chupu took, or not Chupu, Home by the Lee took it by the scruff of the neck, a long way from home.
Critical point of the race.
But where he did that at Aintree, and you're kind of looking at it thinking, yeah, look, he's there to be shot at. The further he went to the Aintree, the further he was going to win. Whereas at Cheltenham, you were thinking, oh, can he hold him off? Can he hold him off? But even over the second last year, there's a clatter of horses behind him. But when he gets to the last hurdle, he's 2 ears pricked. Honesty Policy doesn't find a whole pile. Hidden Valley Lake starts up and down to one spot. Air of Entitlement, who'd won the Martin Pipe on the left, she's given her all. But the further they went to the Aintree, the further he was going to win. And I would personally find it hard to see Honesty Policy, Air of Entitlement, or Hidden Valley Lake. I struggle to see them beating Chupa.
No, probably not. The only argument I would make was that I thought that Take No Chances in second and Air of Entitlement were ridden to pick up the pieces, Air of Entitlement to stay as well. I thought that all the horses that tried to lay it down to Home by the Lee, 3 out, 2 out, all faded away, apart from Honesty Policy. And I'm not making any grand ambitions for him. I think he could be a much more hardened performer in this kind of division this time next year. That was a first-time tongue tie. I'm not necessarily saying that Punchestown will be the day, but I think he could be the one, having got this sort of gritty experience, might go forward next season.
Next season, yeah. I agree with you. And plenty of people made the point that when he ran in the long walk that he was only 6 or 5, rising 6, and he didn't really have the hardness for that division, and they've been proved right. He may well be the one to be with next year, but we're trying to figure out who's going to win this Thursday.
Let's go back to the betting and have another look. So you're basically believing Chupu, who won this race last year.
Yeah, I just think he could end up being the Home by the Lee here. He could end up in front down at the last hurdle here and grind it out from the front there. I know if I was riding, that's what I'd be thinking.
Cowabunga, Jimmy Desoy, not good enough?
No, Jimmy's been running okay, definitely better at Fairyhouse than he had been running. Obviously won a Coral Cup last year, and if he bounced back to his very best, he could get in the money maybe. Cowabunga needs to improve from Fairyhouse. No, I think if you were happy with Chupu going out, I'd catch me if you can now from the Stonewall home.
I just don't like that price coming from the last run. The flattish run. Anyway, I mean, I suppose... Do
you like the price of anything?
Not really, no. It's the kind of race I might sort of,
watch.
Yeah, in the bar. Let's move on to the Barberstown Castle Novice Chase. Now, I am gutted that I'm having to go home before this race is run, because I am so looking forward to this.
You could have got a later flight.
No, I'm going home the previous night.
Oh. Yeah. You'll be home to watch it.
Yeah, I will be home to watch it, yeah. Right, so Copic de Board, beaten by Cargisi in the Arkle, is favourite. Irish Panther, who tried the big guns in the Champion Chase, 3rd in. You've got Salvatore Mundi and Calaconti there representing the Maghall form at Aintree. But let's watch a pulsating Arkle one more time.
Yeah, it was a cracking race to watch, and Danny, I think, nailed it. Bucked out. Lulamba went to go forward, but he's not really a front runner. And Kopek showed his inexperience. Bit high at the first, awkward no shish at the second, and that's what he does. Kind of lands all fours. rather than Lance galloping. But he settled into a rhythm, to be fair to him, picked the board as he went on. But I thought Danny, she was jumping brilliantly, and Danny was letting her get a length in the air and coming back to the lads. Turned into a sprint to the second last. New Lamba missed, and then it's all down to the last. And Danny's hammering tongs. Paul's looked like he's going to win. Danny gets the jump. Paul doesn't. Gets in a bit deep, knuckles, and stands on himself. And that was a better, from the tracker camera on the inside, just to see immediately the ground Cargisi put between herself and Kopek the board. It was the winner margin, and she got it in the 3 strides after landing over the fence. He's running again at the line, but Danny nailed it. And look, your man was lacking a bit of experience, and Danny banked on the jump and got it right.
So the betting is banking on Kopek de Board having learned from that experience, and he did get better after those mistakes 1 and 2, but then when he was put under pressure at the end, he had that critical error that was the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, he did, and I suppose the only slight negative maybe, if you're into it, is he was disappointing here last year as a novice hurdler. Now, having said that, yeah, he'd been to the Supreme and the DRF, so but he's been to the Arkle, only had 1 run less. He was only 2 runs over hurdles and he 1 run over fences. So look, he's a very, very good horse, but you can't disrespect her. She was a good winner, and she is some jumper.
I'm arguing for her in many ways at those prices. Yeah, just because she's taken to fences so well. She's really improved. Fluent, and she gets away from them really quickly. She does.
She lands galloping. Whereas you see him there at the second fence landing on all 4s, I would almost call that as a jockey stagnant.
Yes.
Whereas they don't stop, it feels like you stop for a millimetre, for a 100th of a second. Whereas she lands always in movement.
Yes.
Lands, for her front feet land, her hind legs almost pass them out. So, yeah, she's the better jumper, and you can be sure Danny will be trying the same thing again. But look, they've both come out of Cheltenham really well, and I think it'll be a humdinger of a race. And you chuck in Irish Panther.
Let's do that. Let's chuck in Irish Panther, who tried the Queen Mother Champion chase and found the pace really hot to the first.
Yeah, well, it was. Majbur and Calixios went at it hammer and tongs, and look, he'll have gotten a hell of a lot of experience out of this, and I think maybe it'll stand to him. He makes a howler of a mistake at the last day, which ultimately affects his finishing position. Where was he going to finish? Would he have gotten by the Grey? I'm not so sure.
No.
He probably would have finished 4th, but look, it's still a good effort from him, and he's going to add a bit of spice to this. He'd like to be up there on the pace, and after running in the champion chase, I don't think he'll have any problem going with Cargies.
Yeah, he was sort of taken back from fence 3 and 4. Then he was sort of tracking that really strong pace. So I agree. I think he's going to be pretty comfortable. It was just a shame about that final fence mistake.
Look,
maybe he was tired.
Possibly coming to the end of his tether, and that's what happened. And look, and then of course she took in the McGull form, and look, Salvatore Mundy, if he runs, he never got into any kind of a rhythm, did he, at Aintree?
He's just. I mean, if Cargisi is the natural, he is the opposite.
Yeah, and Carla Conti looked to be outpaced. She was struggling a long way out of the back, but Salvatore Mundy, be aware, took him on, and he pinged the 4th last, all right, but she made a lovely move round the bend here, Carla Conti, and got into contention. She just guessed at the 3rd last and turned over, and Mirabad was left to come and pick up the pieces. But even when they jumped the 2nd last here, you were thinking Paul is only in front on sufferance. Tristan Durrell was galloping over him to get himself a good highlight at the end of the season. And look, Salvatore Mundy, if he goes back to Punchestown, does he jump and go with Irish Panther and Cargies, and does it all just set up for Kopek de Board?
It could do. It could do. I mean, the one that I don't really like, and I like her in herself, but I just don't think this race is going to be right for her, is Calaconti. I think the hard pace from the start is going to put her jumping under pressure. I thought that she was stuttery in the early part of the Maghill, and also at the start of the Scilly Isles, over 2.5 miles.
Very much
quick fences coming at her.
Yeah, and they were blaming the ground maybe in Sandown and in January, February time, being a bit deep. She was climbing, but look, they pulled her out of the Willow Gold Cup and went to Aintree, and it nearly paid off. Like, she was definitely, hard to say she wasn't going as well as Mirabad when she fell.
Agreed.
And when you see that the front 2 fell in a hole, she was definitely going to be involved, but I don't see her as a 2-miler either.
No.
She's a 2.5-miler.
Okay, so you're going with the... Should you have another look at the betting? You're going with the odds-on favourite?
Look, why change now?
No? But you've explained why you think the race might set up for Kopek de Board.
I just meant picking odds-on shots.
And I think you should give Cargesi more respect.
And Pure Steel is interesting too. He was travelling nicely when he fell at the 3rd last in the Willow Gold Cup. Not sure he's a real 2-miler, but he's a decent horse.
Okay, right. Thursday wrapped, on to Friday. Now, the 2 mile hurdlers, the champion hurdlers for the Boodles champion hurdle itself. Here is the betting. Lossiemouth, 2 to 5. Now, she's heard it all before, all of these horses here, apart from William Money at 11 to 2, who might be the interesting one. Golden Ace, of course, who was second estate man in this race last year, is 11 to 2. Amsterdam, Willful Absurd, Glen Kiln. We'll start by taking a look at the champion hurdle, apply some cheek pieces, and da-da!
Yeah, try some cheek pieces, and yeah, look, it was Walk Ahead rocked along. Better Days Ahead sat second. It wasn't a strongly run race. Alexi was good and free, and when the Brendan Powell in the yellow Golden Ace was travelling well, the new line, she got into a beautiful rhythm. She jumped really well. Poneros made the odd mistake on the way around, but she was ultimately just the best horse in the race, and she absolutely bolted in. I don't see. Like, Golden Ace is a great mare, but how does she turn it around? Amsterdam ran a shocker. She quickened the way down to the last hurdle, jumped it well. Brighter Days Ahead got the better of the new line at Aintree the next time, so the form is backing up. So Lexi ran really well that day as well, but they pretty much ran to form at Aintree. You'd imagine these two are going to run to form at Punchestown, and look, I think she's just going to be
too good.
Too good, yeah, isn't she?
You'd think so.
Willful might change the race, would he?
In what way? Go on, explain.
Go on.
Yeah, okay.
I know he's a handicapper, but he does like to get on with things. He's a slick jumper. I wouldn't be surprised if the Punchestown race is a stronger run race than the actual champion hurdle was.
But with the cheek pieces, that wouldn't worry you with Lossiemouth?
I'd give her a help. It won't. I don't think Willful is good enough, but I just think it'll be a stronger run race, and who even knows what Amsterdam really might eventually decide to let him off.
Well, I mean, he made a bad blunder, didn't he? It was all gone from the second, really, wasn't it?
It was all gone from the second, but just looking at that on paper, without a huge amount of pace in the race, you know, Willie is off. He said after the day he ran away with Patrick, I wonder, should we let him rock on? I wonder, will Friday be the day that he does?
May as well do something.
And that's exactly what will happen. He'll say, well, what have we to lose?
Yeah.
He could very well do that.
Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned that William Money is the new one entering this scene. He was meant to enter it at the start of the season, and then again a couple of other times during the course of the season that kept being a little bit of a setback. He was second in the Supreme last season, which I thought was the deeper race compared to the Turners in terms of strength and depth.
Possibly. Romeo Coolio's dropping out, Kopek to board, was awkward at the last, and managed to regather his momentum and go and win the race. And yeah, look, maybe it was Lydia, but it'll still be a hard thing to do, to go to come here after having a stop-start season like he's had. And no, in fairness to Barry, when he's had a setback, he has never kind of thought, well, maybe we could get him to that race. He set targets a long way out to try and get to. And look, he pulled him from Cheltenham quite early and mentioned he might get him to Punchestown. So you can be sure he's a lot of work done and he's in pretty good form. But it will be a big ask for him first time. Agreed.
He was my idea of an each-way champion hurdle play at the start of the season before any of the significant stepping stones had been run. The only thing I would say is he was a 7-year-old when he ran in the Supreme. He's now 8. It's not really particularly when you've then had a difficult season, it's not really the profile of a horse that you'd think would be threatening a horse that is absolutely flying like Lossiemouth, even next season, perhaps.
Yeah, I know, but when you think back, like, I probably didn't fancy Ela Tom going to the celebration chase last year, thinking he's had a whole year off. But sometimes when they turn up that fresh against horses that have been running all year, they can get a result.
Yeah. This is Lossiemouth, though. Let's move on to the Alanna Homes.
That was jump on.
Champion Novice Hurdle betting. King Rasco Bray, the Turners winner, is the 4-7 favourite. Stable Companion Sortudo is 9-2. Stable Companion Laureate's Destraval is 10-1. Stable Companion You Proof is 10-1. Kylie's Place, is that a Stable Companion as well? He isn't, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, he is. Right, okay.
And Bonbivore.
Right, okay. That brings us back to the point that we began the show with. The Turners, then. Let's enjoy.
Blast the National.
All right, don't show off. We'll have a look at the Turners through the prism of King Rasco Gray.
Yeah, he was always in a really good position, and he found it really comfortable. St. Bacca was quite wide in the track. Sortudo didn't really get going early, and to get going then had to go quite wide. But Paul was always in a beautiful position. I'll sort that. Skylight Hustle just in front of him, right down the inside. Sortudo had ended up getting really wide to get involved in the race, whereas Paul was always going slow down. Come back to me here, King Rasco Gray. He was going to win from a very, very long. Well, he was travelling really well from a long way out. Lauren Destraval ran okay. Jumped the last to get the better of Act of Innocence, is it?
Yes.
And it was a good performance from him. He'd run really well at Leopardstown, Zeus Power, who's running on in the green cap, has gone to Aintree and Frank the Farm. So, yeah, I think he's a big chance. It's definitely the one to be with.
It's not just Zeus Power, is it? I was just
No,
trying
the
to
horse in the
remind
blue
myself.
colours of that Bossman Jack.
Bossman Jack. So Zeus Power, who was third, has gone on to win the Sefton. Soldier Reeves, who was fourth, was second in the Mersey. 2 Bossman Jack, who was sixth. Even Hurricane Pat's come out and won again for the third time this season at Chepstow. And no drama this end, who couldn't get into it, managed to win at Perth. At the moment, managed. At the moment, this race is working out as strong form, much stronger than the Supreme, for example.
Yeah, it is, but time will tell which was a stronger race. But there's no reason not to be with King Rascal Grey. He didn't fluke the win.
Nope.
He was in a good position. He found the tempo of the race easier than lots of his rivals. It was an authoritative performance, and he should be as good and maybe even a bit better in Punchestown.
He went from looking like a pregnant mare, according to his trainer, when third to the Talcum Valley Fad at the DRF, to winning Turners.
Yeah, he did, and I'd say there's no reason why he couldn't be better again.
Okay, right. So odds on for that race, and I think you can see why. One more day to go, and we'll cover that when you rejoin us. That's going to be great, Punchestown, isn't it? Which days are you working for us at Punchestown?
Thursday and Saturday.
Thursday and Saturday, excellent. I'll ask you at the end of the show whether there's any horses that we haven't discussed here, left field ones that we might be interested in.
I think there's 8 races every day, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's 40 races.
Yeah. Just one horse.
I think we've touched about it. We're
I'm just
11.
I'm just asking for one horse. Just one horse.
Just one horse.
And
Yeah.
I'm also giving you, 9 minutes in which to think about it. Yeah. I can't say fairer than that. The highlight on the Saturday.
We spoke Friday.
the CBK Irish EBF Mares Champion Hurdle. Woodhoo, the great Woodhoo, is even money favoured ahead of Jade DeGrugy. Golden Ace is still in this betting, but the likelihood is that she's going to be facing Lossiemouth again. Lossiemouth ditto. Yeah, it's quite that race is going to cut up quite a bit, you would think.
It is, because the best mares are in the open company, because there's no geldings in those. So, yeah, it is going to cut up. But I still think Woodhoo is a very, very good mare. And when all is said and done and you boil down how all of Gordon's horses ran at Cheltenham, this mare still won. Mm-hmm. And I think she's a really good mare.
Finds a way of winning every single time.
She does. I thought she was brilliant when we saw her on debut this season at Ascot. She was a bit workmanlike maybe at Leopardstown over Christmas, and she had that cut in the hind leg and the bandage on it. But I thought she was good at Cheltenham, and I think, looking at how some of Gordon's horses have run since Cheltenham, this mare will be better at Punchestown. And look, Jade DeGrugy obviously missed the first and went a bit right. Paul lost his stirrup, was lucky not to fall off her, and that probably changed a little bit how he was going to ride the race. He ended up behind Woodhoo then, and he put a target on Jack's back. It was an ideal position to be in. The mare down the inside in the orange of Skelton's has gone to Aintree and run an absolute blinder. But Woodhoo, you never felt, I don't know, she's a bit like watching Big Bucks.
She is very like that.
You never think she's going to lose, but you're never absolutely certain she's going to win. And she just keeps doing it and finding enough. And you kind of know Jack is kind of nudging her, but never really asking her. And when Paul was trying to have one go at her as late as he could, but when he got on her tail halfway up the run-in, she just went again. Yeah. She's just very good, and I think she'd be too good for Jade DeGrugy. Back at Punchestown, she must be a joy to own and train, but I'd say there's years in this mare, because she, to me, is only doing enough. Yeah,
if you need a horse to dig you out of a hole, you're looking at her. And I agree, but that just doing enough thing really does help in terms of longevity, doesn't it?
Of course it does. I mean, I know we all want horses that are spectacular and blow you away, but when they're leaving it all out there, they've kept nothing for themselves. It's hard enough for them to last, whereas a mare like her that's just doing it and just doing it, how do you know how good she is even? What
would you do with her next season if you had charge of the controls of her campaign?
You're asking the wrong person. I was the lad that kept with Queen Vega in the Mare's Hurdle. That's what I do. Run her in the race, she was going to win. That's what I do.
I am asking the wrong person, aren't I?
Yeah.
How far do you think she'd stay? Could she be a stayers hurdle?
I think she would get every yard of it.
Yeah.
I know Gordon thinks she could go down and trip. Possibly when she was younger. I'm not so sure as she gets older, but yeah, I'd say she'd have no trouble getting any distance.
Yeah.
So she'd stay forever.
Yeah, but yeah, I suppose it depends on how strong they feel that they might be in that division. Different ownerships, of course, but yeah, I'd go up, not down.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. But I think a lot will depend on what the divisions look like, and if something doesn't stick its head up and appear as a sorry, home by the league, you've been amazing. But if you were thinking like, if I only have to beat him, I probably would take a chance.
But if you look back over the title roll of the top stayers, it's lots of home by the leagues, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but not many 11-year-olds.
Cider Burley.
How many 12-year-olds?
Cider Burley.
Cider Burley, yeah.
You know, it does reward that grittiness, but she's got that too.
She has. I think she's in spades. And Jade Grugy obviously came back to Chaston and had a go. She'll take her on again. If you're Paul looking at it, how do you go about beating her? Like, people would say you have to do something different, but I'd find it hard to give her a lead.
Yeah.
Personally, I think if you set out to think, we'll jump and go, I think you're already setting up for her then. You have to follow her again and hope she misses the last or something, but that's what you're banking on.
Okay, that's a fingers crossed one then. We'll move on to the 4-year-olds, the Ballymore champion 4-year-old hurdle, and that has Apollon de Charny, who made his debut for Willie Mullins and won the Triumph at 2-1. Field Gut is 7-2. Saratoga, the winner of the Fred Winter, is 5-1, 6-1 bar. So there's a number of these that ran behind Apollon de Charny in the Triumph.
Yeah. What are the BHA going to do this year?
Yes, second start over hurdles for Apollon de Charny.
Yeah, and he would travel well. Patrick obviously rode him. Competitive enough trying for it, looked at on paper, and he a proactive who's come back to Ferryhouse since and won. Don't think he ever really rose a gallop, but Apollon de Charny was always right beside him on the inside. Gets a bit tight off the bend here. Manila Studio went back to Aintree in the black cap just in front of him. He didn't rise a gallop at Aintree.
No.
So he didn't. And the skeleton horse over on this side, Maestro Conti, he ran really well. Selma Davari found Monge 2 just too good at Aintree, but the form is stacking up to an extent, Lydia, and pecked a little bit for the last, but there's no reason why this fella couldn't have improved. Now, Poneros couldn't. Poneros won his first time out last year, and Nulamba turned the form on him at Punchestown, but I don't know, I couldn't see those immediately behind the turn of the form with him. The horse actually that I really liked was the horse back in 5th in the black and orange. 40-50. He's a gorgeous horse. And he's a much bigger, stronger horse will be a stronger horse than those in front of him. Whether he's quick enough to turn up with Apollon de Charny at Punchestown, I wouldn't be so sure, but I'd say Stuart has a nice horse in his hands with 40-50.
Yeah, definitely. I think he was only once race over hurdles as well, so similar profile to the winner. I think there were reasons like East India Dock, Lulamba pushed each other a bit too hard up front in the Triumph, so there was a reason to turn that around. Yeah, I don't see Apollon de Charny being in the same boat unless he just reacts to the first run, goes backwards from it, which could always happen.
Could, but I'd be surprised if he did. He's not coming off a layoff or an injury or anything. He was just happened to be his first run of the season. He was qualified for the race, so Willie kept him for it.
Right. You mentioned the Aintree form, the Boodles anniversary 4-year-old hurdle, and that was won by Monge 2, beating Salma Davari. Winston Jr., who was second and fortunate in the Fred Winter, was in this too.
Yeah, not the first horse to try and go from a Fred Winter up to the Grade 1 and finding the jump a little bit too big, Winston Jr., but Monge 2 got in front of Apollon de Charny off the home turn, and look, try as they may, I watched this on the overhead shot, and she got to Monge 2 at the last,
Salma Davari,
but didn't get away from the hurdle as quick, and I actually think Salma Davari half pulled up in the last 100 yards and Monge 2 pulls up a little bit and allows Salma Davari to come back at her, idles, but just as when you get there you're thinking, oh, is she going to go by her? No. I think Monge 2 was always holding her, and I just think Salma Davari, as we've been saying all year, a little bit like a horse that comes out of France, mad fit, you're trying to struggle to change him. I was talking to Joseph about the horse that ran in the Scottish National last week. I can't even, the horse was placed. He the same with him. He thinks he'd be a better horse next year, and I think she'll be Kimrock. Thank you very much, Mr. Producer, or Director even, and I think Salma Davari will be better next year as well.
Yeah, that was Andrew in your ear, our producer.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the betting. Should mention Saratoga. Andrew wanted to put in Saratoga, and you vetoed that. Unilaterally vetoed it.
Yeah, I did. I thought we'd be out of time by now. If we could have had the video to play it, we could have. But Saratoga, he was really impressive in the Boodles Fred Winter. But he was always in a really good position too. Now, he absolutely bolted in. He travelled really strongly. He jumped like a buck, but he had a much better position than Winston Jr. throughout the race.
He did.
And Mark Walsh made it pay.
Okay. did Apollon Deshani surprise everybody or not? Was he one of the ones that was being picked out as potential?
No, Patrick went for him, so he could have ridden any number of them, but Pádraig went for him, so no, I wouldn't say he surprised us. That said, I suppose all along Narciso Haas was probably the best juvenile,
yes.
And he went by the wayside, and then it became a much more open picture. But Proactive disappointed, but he was good at Fairyhouse, and Macho Man, he ran better there as well.
Okay. You're doing your best to count it down, but we've still got 30 seconds left for you to name that horse that we haven't discussed that is running in any of the 40 races.
I've looked at the decks, and there was a couple of interesting ones in the handicap hurdles. In that Albert Bartlett's Triple Crown Series final, I thought Jesse's horse, Powerful I think his name is, thought he was interesting, and I thought I'm Slippy of Robert Tyner's caught the eye in the handicap hurdle, the Killashee House handicap hurdle just after that.
Okay.
Thought he was eye-catching in Cork.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Thank you also for your company on the whole season, and also Josh as well, and the whole team. We've come to the end of the road.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.